Hello and welcome to Southeastern 16's baseball reaction. Alfred Esmond joining me. Graham Doty going to join us shortly thereafter. Alfred on the move again yesterday, this time to Athens, Georgia.
Truist Park in
Truist
Atlanta.
Park, that's right. We'll talk about Georgia in a minute. We're going to hit the big storylines from yesterday. Georgia got a big 5-2 win over Georgia Tech. Tennessee got a win over Bellarmine, but maybe a bigger storyline coming out of that one than the Vols just winning. Texas finally gets, well, not finally. Where Texas has struggled relatively has been the midweek. Texas did not do that yesterday. Auburn got a walk-off over Jacksonville State. Bobby Boser has a huge day for Florida. Oklahoma gets a big win over a rival. Vanderbilt gets another outstanding midweek pitching performance. And the SEC wins 15-16 games. Really the only damper being Ole Miss picking up a damaging midweek loss to Little Rock. We'll get into that one in a little bit with Graham Doty. He will be joining us later. Alfred, my man, let's jump right into it. Let's start in Atlanta, where you were yesterday, up close and personal to see Georgia and Georgia Tech, two teams fighting for national seeds. Georgia comes out on top and now the number one team in the RPI as of this morning.
Yeah, well, very good RPI win, right? I mean, Georgia Tech was atop the ACC and is still atop there heading into their weekend series against Miami. But Georgia's pitching was just way too much for them, Chris. You look up and down. The only guy really offensively that did anything for Georgia Tech was Will Baker. He had the home run and then another RBI knock. Drew Burris, super quiet. You know what I mean? And a lot of their other bats just super quiet last night. They were only able to muster 4 hits. And I talked to Alton Davis for Georgia after the game, and he said, look, Wes Johnson told us we were going to get an inning or 1 or 2 batters. And you just had to command the strike zone and be imperative with what you wanted to do. And all 400 million pitchers for Georgia did that because they threw a lot of guys. And speaking of Alton Davis, credit to him. He earned the win, gave up just 1 hit in his, 1 out he recorded. There were plenty of other guys that were great, though. Matthew Hoskins, Georgia Tech created some difficulty on the bases when he went out there, but he threw 97 and struck out the batter to get out of that, sticky situation. Really good outing from Charlie Goldstein, 3 strikeouts. Zach Harris and Nate Taylor, both with 2 strikeouts. Nate Taylor really impressed me. He went out there, struck out 2 batters, and got through the inning in 9 pitches. He was really efficient. So Georgia, I know there were some Arkansas people in our comments being like, oh, well, Arkansas, couldn't get to Georgia until the bullpen came out there. Well, Georgia's pitching across the board was excellent last night. So that's a really good quality to have when you're going to Nashville this weekend and playing a really good pitching team in Vanderbilt. So maybe you could go toe-to-toe with them based off what you did at Truist Park last night.
Yeah, using Goldstein in midweek is kind of interesting because he's been a little bit of an opener. We've always said Charlie Goldstein, when he is healthy, is an asset to Georgia, right? Mm-hmm. But, seeing him there, I think last weekend they went, Curley, Colton Smith, and Leighton Finley. Yeah. I'll be interested to see if they maybe – because Charlie Goldstein is a guy, like, even if he doesn't hit the rotation the rest of the year – if you're in one of these Monday night regional elimination games and he hasn't thrown much or at all, you love him in that spot because he's pitched so much ball.
Right. Yeah, that very much so. And it was a little bit of a surprise for me too, but he was the big name to watch last night pitching. And then also home runs. Georgia hits those a lot. Forgot to mention this. Kolby Branch, Devin, Obee, both with home runs last night. That really broke the game open ahead, and Georgia Tech just could not recover again because of the pitching Georgia did.
Yeah, I think those were home runs 99 and 100 for Georgia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty good this year.
Yeah, they can hit a bit. Okay, let's move to Knoxville, and the Vols get a 13-6 win over Bellarmine. Got home runs from Andrew Fischer, Dalton, Bargo, Chris Newsroom. But I think the bigger thing was Andrew Behnke. He started, and Tony Vitello seemed to hint that he had a bigger role in mind for him.
Yeah, he earned the win. He came in after Thomas Crabtree pitched for Tennessee. and got the 2 strikeouts, walked a guy, but what was pretty efficient, 16 pitches in his 1 inning of work. So he got through it with minimal damage. Tennessee, similar thing to what Georgia did, pitched a ton of guys. But yeah, if Tennessee can infuse Andrew Behnke into their weekend attack, then that's just going to be, because heading into the year, he was probably one of, if not their best bullpen arm. You know what I mean? I know, all due respect to Nate Snead, that's probably the other choice I'd make there. But as far as fresh off a starter, you lose him. You go Andrew Behnke a good bit, I would think, if you're Tennessee, if he's fully healthy. So this adds to that, and it's a big get back for Tennessee once Andrew Behnke comes fully back into weekend game plans and stuff. So big evening for him there. Look, Bellarmine 9-27 on the season. They're not too good of an opponent or anything like that. But regardless, this Andrew Behnke thing's a big deal for Tennessee because, again, it's arguably their biggest bullpen arm once he gets back into weekend stuff.
Yeah. By the way, Dallas Lee, thanks for being here in the chat. Got some concerns about the Hogs and the pitching. That fan base just, I think, has been through so much PTSD with postseason disappointment that it just panics. I was on radio this morning. We're going to get to Arkansas a little later in the show. I am still sold on that team. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
We'll get to them a little later. I kind of buried the lead on Georgia, and I'm going to go here next because I think one thing I do in midweeks is keep tabs on that RPI, because you take a bad loss there, it can send you tumbling a few spots. We're going to get to a team that did that in a bit. But you beat a team like Georgia Tech, and you climb the rankings. And with Georgia's body of work, I think even winning the Arkansas series, I think Arkansas was still 1 in the RPI, and Georgia was 2. No, it doesn't really matter this time of year because there's so many more games to be played, and I said it doesn't matter. It matters some, but here's what I'm getting at: you get Georgia Tech on a neutral field, you pick up a win there, and all of a sudden Georgia looks up. Bulldogs number 1 on the RPI this morning.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's what happens, and a team took a tumble because of that last night, and that's really where you could hurt or help yourself, because there's some good midweek opponents you usually play throughout the year. I know some teams like Tennessee got Bellarmine, but beyond that, Georgia got Georgia Tech, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, played each other as well. I mean, that's got to be some. I know Oklahoma State isn't as good as they usually are, but that's also a pretty decent RPI get for Oklahoma if they could have gotten it, and that's really what helps you during these games.
Yeah. Speaking of RPI, Texas now number 3 in the RPI after beating UTRGV, which still sounds like a cable channel to me, but is a formidable baseball opponent. We have talked about how Texas's struggles have relatively been in the midweeks because I think the pitching depth drops off, and sometimes that's where you lose some games. The weekend arms are about as good as anybody's, but that is where Texas has run into trouble. Not much of a problem yesterday, thanks to Kade Bing, who gives Texas 5 one-run innings, 3 RBIs from Rylan Galvan, as it wins 11-4 and moves to number 3 in the RPI. Alfred, whoever you are.
That's okay. Hey, Rio Grande Valley, they are a tough team out of the Southland. They're competing toward the top of that conference that just bashes each other's brains in, I call it, during the season. And they go to Texas, and a lot of teams have wanted to take down some of these big Texas schools this year. I'm sure the Vaqueros, I think that's their nickname. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I'm sure they had, a little bit of we want to beat Texas on their mind. Unfortunately for them, they couldn't get any scoring going until the 6th inning, and that was thanks to, like you said, Chris, the great pitching from Kade Bing to give up just 1 earned run, which is when he exited after 5 innings. 4 strikeouts for him on the day. Bullpen was very good too. Jason Flores, impressive way to close out the game. 2 innings, 3 strikeouts for him, and then hitting the ball. You look at who hit the ball well for Texas. It started Will Gasparino, of course. We're going to say his name a lot. 4 RBIs. Rylan Galvan with 3 RBIs, 2 RBIs each from Jalen Flores and Casey Borba. Big time stuff from this Texas team. This is a good mid-major team they played. yesterday in Rio Grande Valley. I know they're, they have the funny long abbreviation and whatnot for their university, but still very tough Southland team. Super impressed with them last night. Great start from Kade Bing. Great all around game for the Texas Longhorns.
All right, another team that got a big or at least didn't hurt itself in the RPI. I think Auburn was 5 in the RPI going into yesterday. Could have been 4. I'll double check that. Auburn was 5, so it did move up one spot. Jacksonville State is a decent mid-major team. So Auburn got a walk-off win with Steele hitting a home run, Lucas Steele, that is, with 2 outs in the ninth to walk it off. But the big storyline, probably player of the day yesterday in the SEC was Chrstian Chatterton, who threw a perfect game, threw 6 innings, struck out 8 guys. He is one of a slew of talented freshmen that Butch Thompson has. Probably Auburn's most talented freshman pitcher, which would be no surprise if you followed his career coming into the season. But Auburn now 4 in the RPI, and I hand it to you, man. You called this before the LSU series. Auburn got a chance to get a national seed, and the Tigers keep doing work. And look, these games a lot of times can hurt you more than they can help you. And Auburn did work yesterday, took care of business.
Yeah, Auburn fans, give a salute like this to Lucas Steele in a pinch hitting situation, coming in, getting that home run. He got you that for sure national seed conversation with his home run in the 9th inning. Very good games as well from Bub Terrell. I've said and Cooper McMurray. We've said McMurray's name a lot throughout the year. Bub Terrell's we've been saying a lot recently. Continue to keep an eye on that freshman. He has been unreal. Both those guys I just named, multiple hit nights. Auburn, 9 hits tonight. The key to this game was their offense was way better than Jacksonville State's. You can call it expected, but that was the scenario here. 9 hits as a team compared to 2 hits for the Gamecocks last night. And Jacksonville State, kind of like the Texas game we just talked about, couldn't get scoring going until the 7th, although they did make it close and they did tie it up in the 8th. So they did make it interesting in the end. Unfortunately, I don't think the lack thereof to get anything going against Chatterton just, hurt them in this game. And good win by Auburn. Jacksonville State, tough and gritty team out of the Sun Belt, as a lot of those teams are. Or are they Conference USA? I might have mixed that up.
I think they are Sun Belt. I should know this. They change so quickly.
Yes, they do. And they're newer, so everyone forgive me. They're newer to Major Division I. Regardless, though, they're a tough team, competitive, very competitive in their conference. Great win for Auburn here. Chatterton, obviously the main story of this one.
I was wrong. Conference USA.
Conference USA? Okay,
yeah.
That's why we double check. And they have, I think they joined Chris, 5 years ago? Not even to Major Division I sports. So yeah.
They've done a tremendous job.
Mm-hmm. They have.
Launch it. They were lower. They were what FCS, but still they've made some noise and done some good things. I said Chrstian Chatterton might be our player of the day. Bobby Boser would like a word here. Did you see what he did?
I did see what he did. 3 home runs, right? 3 home runs for Bobby Boser last night. Man, Florida, I'd be picking at, certain things just that I don't need to say that someone else needs to find power. But if Bobby Boser does that against a team like Stetson, Florida's in a good spot. 14-4 win for the Gators last night, ended in 7 innings. Florida scored in all but one of those innings last night. They were just really racking up runs left and right. Speaking of home runs, actually I say that, but other players got home runs last night too. Blake Sear, Ashton Wilson homered. Florida's offense just pounced on Stetson early and often. And, they got that back into the bullpen really bad that Stetson had. Those guys gave up 4 earned runs, 3 and then 3 amongst Mason Davenport, Turner Spolarich, and then Bryce Gluckman. So, yeah, big stuff from Florida there. Alex Philpott earned the win last night. He went 3 1/3, struck out 4, gave up just 1 hit, 1 earned run, 1 walk. Florida, just win all you can, right? It's a math problem for them. And this win, Stetson this year is 24-14, 13-2 in conference play out of the A-Sun. So I imagine that's actually not a bad RPI grab for Florida last night that they got. So, yeah, Florida, just continue to win all you can. And last night's win was just as good as any this season.
Yeah, I think you're right because Florida moved up to 25, which
Okay.
is they're going to be a very interesting conversation. That series with Mississippi State this weekend, big for both those teams. Somebody certainly cannot afford to get swept there. But yeah, Florida's 21-3 outside the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm going to be very interested, and they may be a test case. Like, does the NCAA's past 12-19 was a low water mark for SEC baseball to get in? I'm going to be very interested if that is just kind of a glass ceiling, or if some common sense is going to prevail, because I think Florida's a regional team.
They also have that series win over Florida State for the season, which is just massive. That's huge for RPI. So
yeah, and look, if I'm the SEC, I'm getting this out there. I'm saying, hey, look, guys, we won 15 to 16 midweeks today. I'll get to Missouri. Even Missouri is above 500 out of the league. And I know, granted, it hasn't played a tough schedule, but the league needs to start getting that message out there if it hasn't.
Right.
Because I think that you see a lot of these teams, like put Florida in the Big 12, Big 10. What's that record look like? It's not 4 conference wins through 5 series. I'll tell you that much.
No.
Yeah. Okay, next up, Oklahoma. The win over Oklahoma State, not as good for the resume as it would have been, because Oklahoma State is about a 500 club. But to go beat OSU in Stillwater 11-1, a rival, a perennial baseball power, you feel great about that if you're an OU fan. Jason Walk hits the first grand slam of the season for OU. You got Jaden Barfield, Reed Hensley, James Hitt, Dylan Crooks giving up 4 hits. I love the way Oklahoma's playing right now.
Yeah, certainly playing really good, and completely shut down Oklahoma State last night as they beat them 11-1. Colin Brueggemann for Oklahoma State had the only run of the game that came from a solo shot from him. Other than that, Oklahoma handled business, and that was due to great pitching from Jaden Barfield, who got the start. Reed Hensley came in after him, struck out 3 batters, did give up the 1 run that Brueggemann had, but besides that was solid. And then Dylan Crooks with coming in to close out that game, 3 strikeouts for him in his 1 inning, and he did that on 22 pitches. So, and then on top of that, none of the guys that just named were credited with the win. James Hitt got the win for Oklahoma last night. So, just a complete team pitching effort from those Oklahoma Sooners last night, going on the road in a bedlam battle. Went ahead early in the first inning, scored 5 runs right off the bat. You had, Carmichael, Christensen, Taki, Kyle Branch all coming in and contributing to get that score up there. And then in the 8th inning, that was when Walk had his grand slam. They scored 5 more runs. So, yeah, just no response and no life really from Oklahoma State in that game, and the Sooners took advantage of it. You love that if you're an Oklahoma fan and if you're the Oklahoma team to get a win like that.
I just noticed that they got the most baseball-named roster in the league. They got a walk, they got a hit. They've also got a gamble, which is not good. But, yeah.
That's funny. Where's home run? And
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to tell Skip Johnson to recruit those guys when he sees them, those names next.
They need a balk, or maybe not a balk. It'd be bad, especially if you're a pitcher. All right. All kidding aside, we'll move on. We hit a lot of stuff yesterday with the awards, which I know you weren't here for, but one thing we didn't talk about, and this would be a reach, but if we did a midweek starter of the year, I think it's Austin Nye at Vanderbilt. He's really pitching well, and that is a great story. He's a kid who was a pretty high draft prospect. Blew out his elbow, did not pitch all year last year, senior of high school. Brought him in. I don't know that he was really huge in their plans, but he started throwing early in midweeks and threw well. He's got a .47 ERA in about 31 innings after yesterday. He goes 5 innings, gives up 2 runs, and they needed every bit of it because they didn't really hit, did Vanderbilt. Did get a Braden Holcomb home run, but Vanderbilt is one of a few teams. I know Alabama's one of them. I think maybe LSU, that is still unbeaten in the midweek.
Yeah, great win for Vanderbilt. Colin Barzy too, right? With the walk-off knock to get the win in the 10th inning. I guess, I know Lipscomb, Chris, Nashville school, right? So maybe they're a
That's
little more,
right.
yeah, maybe they're a little motivated. You're alum on top
Yep.
of that. So yeah, maybe they're a little motivated to play Vanderbilt or something like that. They also have been playing better in conference play.
Yeah.
Lipscomb as that's gone on. So maybe that happened there. But yeah, Vanderbilt just kind of got out hit by this team.
Yeah.
Regardless of how good Austin Nye was. And then Tommy O'Rourke, got to give credit to him as well, coming in, getting the win in his last 2 innings, just holding things down. Odd game, but if you're Vanderbilt, again, you've been solid in midweeks, and that's where you've kept yourself afloat. They did that again last night. And yeah, Mr. Barzy, the homer, or the hero in the game in the 10th inning last night.
Yeah. Well, a couple of footnotes. Lipscomb's, I think, director of ops is Troy Leneve, who was an outfielder for Vandy last year. So that was kind of interesting, him being the other dugout. The other thing, Lipscomb's hitting coach is Lucas Duda. Like, just a little, living in Nashville, like, there are random baseball people all over this city, which is really weird because we've got hockey, we've got soccer, we've got football, we got all these pro sports, not baseball, but like, you would just run into random baseball people that live here just because. And that's why I was like, I did not know Lucas Duda was Lipscomb's hitting coach, but there you go.
Also, Holcomb homered last night, which is good to see. I think if you get power out of him going, that's really good for Vanderbilt hitting wise.
Yeah, they're pressing at the plate because they got the lowest home run total in the league, and that fan base is really up in arms about that. So
right.
It'd be interesting. They got a matchup with Georgia this weekend that I don't think is a very good one. So in any case, where are we going to go next? Let's go here. I'm going to save Ole Miss in case Graham joins us later. He said he might. We're not going to spend too much more time on this because I've got to hop here in a bit. I'm going to give you 3 games here. You can take them where you want or not. A&M beats Tarleton State 11-3. Jace Laviolette homers. Cade McCoy got a win with 2 scoreless innings. Arkansas knocked off Arkansas Pine Bluff, 8 innings, 3 doubles from Reese Robinette, who's bench player for them. Home runs from Vahiva Aloy, Zane Becker, and Kuhio Aloy, and also Cam Kozel. Arkansas now number 2 in the RPIs we mentioned. LSU knocks off McNeese. Jared Jones got a home run, had 3 hits. William Schmidt, their freshman star, 2 runs in 3 1/3 innings. Anything a note to you there?
I'll do Arkansas just because if we don't spend time on Arkansas, Chris, we're going to hear about it. So let's spend time on Arkansas really briefly. The Aloy brothers continue to be just one of the best stories, I think, in the SEC. They are just leading this Arkansas attack, and they did so last night again against Pine Bluff. 18 hits in the game for the Hogs. Very, very good. I don't care what team you're playing. You could be playing Chris, Graham, Jay, and I do that, and I would still think it's impressive. Vahiva Aloy homered, Kuhio Aloy homered. Kuhio Aloy had 4 RBIs in the game, 4 hits in the game for him. Cam Kozel was great once again with a multi-hit game, 3 RBIs. Vahiva Aloy finished with 3 hits. Reese Robinette, 3-hit game. Chris, did not expect that, not on the bingo card for that name to pop up in that kind of fashion. But if you're Arkansas, you're going to take it. Big 18-hit night. That's good enough to beat a lot of teams, and obviously good enough to beat Pine Bluff. That's the game. I'll give the Arkansas fans some attention there because I know they need it so desperately.
Yeah, RPI check on those. Again, Arkansas 2. LSU, I think, dropped a spot to 9. And then A&M was, I think, 51 going into yesterday and stays at 51. Let me double check that. Again,
look at Ole Miss. Ole Miss tumbled.
Yeah, we're gonna get there in just a minute. We were waiting for you for that one. Let's see. Yeah, A&M was, 49. So they dropped 2 spots with the win, which is another thing that I hate about RPI. And this is why you see teams cancel games. We need a better system than this, but I'll save the ranting for another show. Let's do this. Let's go Mississippi State beats Southern 16-2 in 7 innings. It gets its 7th run rule victory this year. Hunter Hines knocked in 4 runs. He continues to rise up the career offensive charts there. Bulldogs 37 in the RPI now, which I think has risen a little bit as State is putting itself in the territory to make the NCAA tournament with the right number of SEC wins. Kentucky beats Miami of Ohio. Second game in the week where a bunt led to an error that scored the winning run. Kais Gargett comes across the plate as they beat Miami of Ohio 4-3. The last ones before we get to Ole Miss, South Carolina shuts out the Citadel 4-0. 4 guys combined on a shutout. KJ Scobie gets a home run, and Missouri beats Missouri State. Tigers are now 0-15 in the league, 13-8 outside of it. Jackson Lovich, a grand slam. Graham, you want to touch any of those?
I mean, just that State, you can just tell they're playing with a lot of confidence right now. I know the level of competition wasn't the best yesterday, but they do what you're supposed to do, and that's just dominate, not make it close at all. 16 runs on 11 hits. Southern's damage was the first 3 innings, and then other than that, State was in control, and this just feels like a totally different team than what we saw the first month and a half of the season. So again, we touch on their schedule a lot, and it matters because they're playing with a lot of confidence and they got a lot of momentum right now. They're one of the hottest teams in the SEC along with A&M.
Alfred, any notes on those other teams?
We haven't mentioned I was going to go ahead and mention Alabama UAB. I don't think we've touched that game yet, but yeah, that game 5-3 in favor of Alabama. UAB, a very tough team that's given some teams in the SEC runs for their money in midweeks. They did that against Alabama a little bit, out hit them 8-7. At one point, actually led Alabama 2-1 heading into the bottom of the 5th, but the Crimson Tide hold on. Brennan Norton was huge for the Crimson Tide last night. Very good game for him. He had a 2-run home run in the 5th that gave Alabama the lead back, and they just did not turn back from there. As Richie Bonamalo Jr. would also come up with a big knock. Will Hodo got in on some scoring action, which is nice to see. Kind of a basic low-scoring game, but you're going to take that if you're the Crimson Tide based on how you've been in SEC play. You just kind of want to rack up as many wins as you possibly can. Alabama threw a ton of different guys. Bobby Alcock went out there, went 3 2/3, gave up 4 hits, just 1 earned run though. So he was pretty solid. Aiden Vinatieri earned the win for Alabama last night. He went an inning, struck out 2 batters, gave up just 1 hit. And then Carson Osmer recording the save. SEC keeps putting 1 save on the year for him. That's incorrect. He is 2nd in the country in saves this year behind Lucas Malstedt at Clemson. So everyone keep that in mind because I know we slipped on that earlier. SEC, please update that because that's driving me nuts seeing that. Carson Osmer does not have 1 save this year. He's one of the best closers in the country, and he did that again last night. So
I kind of think what it is, Alfred, I honestly think they just don't have the space because he's double-digit saves. I just think it's a spacing issue.
Really? That'd be kind of
website has been a mess for a year. What is going on?
That's odd though. Like you can't put I don't know 11 or 12 into the next to his name. Like you don't have space for that. Is what I'm asking.
Sam said he's going to call his guy in Birmingham.
Yeah, get after him,
Sam.
Thank you. I mean, their scoreboard. We've seen them list the wrong teams leading and the wrong winners before. It leaves games out. Like I'm not. Look, I love the guys at the SEC. Know some of them, but come on, man. Whatever they had going on with the website a year or two ago, there was nothing wrong with it. And this ever since this redesign, it has just been wonky.
Yes.
And the product,
everything about the league is top notch in all aspects, and then this is the website that we are blessed with.
Yeah. Well, all right. Let's get to what we've been putting off, Dad. Ole Miss was 7 in the RPI heading into last week. Loses 2 games against Tennessee, and then the one yesterday. What was Ole Miss? Was Ole Miss like 9 or 10 in the RPI coming into yesterday?
Definitely top 10.
Okay.
I don't know the number off the top of my head, but they were definitely top 10. So yesterday it was the Kids Day game. It was a super early game, noon Central first time. noon Central first pitch, and I mean, packed house, just 9,000 kids from all over the state of Mississippi. So it's just a different situation, guys. Like, the kids are there. They don't care who's winning. Like, the ball's in the air. Like, they're going crazy. They put SpongeBob on the video board. They're going crazy. So the atmosphere is different, but also this is the earliest game that Ole Miss has played this season. So definitely we're just kind of sleepwalking and going through the motions. Little Rock in the Ohio Valley Conference now, like, they have been good. They've won that league ever since they've joined it multiple times here recently. But the team this year, like, I think they're 3 games under 500 now, but Little Rock has won 6 in a row now. But still, like,
Wow.
this is an RPI bomb. Like, if you're looking at RPIs, like, I don't even want to know what Little Rock's is. Like, it's nowhere near the top. But this is just one of those games, like, Little Rock scored first. Like, they scored 3 in the 3rd, and then Ole Miss tied it eventually in the 7th, and then Little Rock 2 in the 8th, 2 in the 9th. And I mean, this was a game that Ole Miss did use some guys that need some momentum, like Jones. The Rebels went with Jones, and he was good. Struck out 3 in his inning of work. So if you look at Jones prior to yesterday, his last 3 outings have not gone well at all. So that was just like, let's get him out there and just let him get some confidence. So he was good. The one that as Ole Miss fans are talking a lot is Canny, the Tampa transfer. So that's who Ole Miss fans wanted to see against Tennessee, especially on Sunday. He was available. He just didn't go. He did go yesterday, and he actually picked up the loss last night. And so it was just one of those things, like, nothing really went well in areas for Ole Miss. Luke Hill was good, though. I mean, I think he was our second team SEC.
I think we put him first. Yeah.
Yeah, he had 3 hits yesterday. So, I mean, offense wasn't the issue yesterday. It was just pitching here and there, and then it's just I like being in minor league baseball for 3 years. Like, start times is a real thing, guys. Like, if you go from playing at like 5, 6, or 7 every night, and then you got to play on a Tuesday at noon in front of a bunch of kids, like that.
Yeah.
Is different. So I'm not saying that's why Ole Miss lost, but I mean, it's certainly a little bit of part of it.
Well, you also go from a big emotionally charged series with Tennessee to 2 days later, a weird start time and then that. So, by the way, Little Rock 242 in the RPI. So that's what happens when you lose that game at that point. You drop 6, 7, 8 spots in the RPI, and probably more importantly, picked up a quad 4 loss, which Ole Miss did not have. And you look at most of the teams in front of Ole Miss in the RPI. Arkansas's got a quad 4 loss. Auburn's got 2 of them. LSU's got 1. Coastal Carolina's got 2. Alabama's got 1. So some teams take on some of those losses, but you probably don't want a couple of those if you're going to try to host a regional, which I think Ole Miss probably, like, if you're issuing bids today, that 9-6 mark in the league is still probably going to get Ole Miss a regional if they did it at this point. But that's one thing. You don't want that dragging you down. Any parting thoughts for you guys as we end the show today?
Good midweek. Chris, you said it before. Pretty much everyone won other than Ole Miss, but that made for a good midweek. Jim's right. Oklahoma run ruling Oklahoma State is always big, even though it's not the same Oklahoma State. You got to give credit there for what it's worth. But yeah, very good day for the SEC yesterday, and can't wait to preview this weekend's action.
I'm kind of surprised that that's not a 3-game series for Bedlam, Oklahoma State.
Yeah,
kind of would. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah,
but they look good. So after not a lot of positive things for 2 weeks, Oklahoma now they're in cruise control.
Mm-hmm. By the way, welcome Jim Dillingham. We did talk about Oklahoma State earlier. You can get this broadcast on the replay. It'll store on our YouTube channel. You can get every bit of it start to finish. So we did hit that one a little bit. We hit all the teams in case you're joining us late. We did get your team at some point. So good to see some Oklahoma fans and some Texas fans joining in of late. We're glad to see that. I think my parting thought, and I think this is going to be a storyline we're talking about every weekend, is watching the RPI. I'm going to read you the top 11 in the country. And this is the top 11 nationally. Georgia 1, Arkansas 2, Texas 3, Auburn 4, 5 Tennessee, 6 Clemson, 7 Vanderbilt, 8 Oregon State, 9 LSU, 10 Coastal Carolina, 11 Alabama. So you've got 8 of the top 11. Everybody but Clemson, Oregon State, Coastal Carolina is in the SEC. Go down a little further. You got Ole Miss 17, Oklahoma at 21, Florida at 25, Mississippi State at 37, Kentucky at 39. Apologies if I missed somebody in there. And then A&M lurking back there at 51, even South Carolina at 48. 15th place team in the league, top 50 in the RPI.
Pretty good. They got 2 wins and they're top 50. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, and that to me is the $1 million question, guys. What does the committee do with all these SEC teams? Because the out-of-conference record is phenomenal. It's what propped up the league to where it is. Are we going to see this glass ceiling where, 12 and 18 doesn't get you in, but 12 and 17 might, where they're only going to let the league host X amount of teams? That to me is really what I'm watching. Is does the SEC get a cap put on what it gets in the tournament? But not that the committee would say, hey, we got a cap. We're only going to take 10 SEC teams or whatever. Now hosting, I could see that being different. But what I'm getting at, I just want to see how they're going to treat this, because I think this is unprecedented. And good morning to you too, Randy.
We don't have to do this now, but that is something we should look at. Who is on the committee? Like, who is calling the shots?
Yeah.
Because if there's SEC representation, then you're going to feel good about it. If there is not, for whatever reason, SEC SEC dislike around the country is a very real thing. Yeah.
We may start doing some bracketology or whatever the word is for regional projections. There we go. As we get later into the season, and see how this looks. It'd be very interesting to see it through the eyes that we see it, and then see what the committee does. But in any case, I think we're wrapping it up for today. We will have content out tomorrow. I haven't quite decided how we're going to structure it. We usually try to go live at 10 on Thursdays. Well, I'm not sure what we'll do. Thursday's our preview day, and we got 6 series starting tomorrow night. So in any case, here's how you find out what we're going to do. Subscribe to the channel, enable your notifications so when content comes out, you'll know it. And we will definitely have previews up tomorrow. Those probably will not be live. We will have recaps of all the games this weekend. We may do a Thursday Night Live show. I think we probably will, with Friday morning being Good Friday. Mm-hmm. And we may do something late night Good Friday. I don't really like to, for obvious reasons, but we'll do that. We'll have reactions after the weekend games too. We'll have power rankings on Monday. We're basically the point where we're doing content on SEC baseball every day of the week and sometimes twice. So thank you guys for being here, for being loyal to the channel. And if you would, leave us a thumbs up on this. Go to our podcast outlets on audio, and you can find them about anywhere you get it. If you don't mind, leave us a 5-star rating and some nice comments, because we're trying to pick up our audience and grow those there too. It's revenue for the channel. It helps everybody get paid, all those sorts of things. So if you could do that, we'd appreciate it. Thank you for watching. God bless you. Have a great rest of your day. For Graham Doty, Alfred Esmond, I'm Chris Lee. You've been watching our SEC baseball content here at Southeastern 16.